Hey, what's going on, you guys? On today's video, we are going to be covering the 6 scientific facts to increase your closing ratio for coaches, consultants, and even agency owners. So you guys, this is going to be a good one because number 4 is something that I see sales reps and business owners screw up all of the time when it comes to high ticket sales. So you're going to want to pay attention to that one for sure. So let's jump into this training. I'm excited about this one. Okay, you guys, so number 1 is a little bit more of a myth buster here, something that you may not have thought about or even anticipated, but the University of Pennsylvania has done some studies across a lot of different sales organizations and basically is pointing to the fact that extroverts aren't always the best salespeople. In fact, the data shows that they're not. So when you're a sales manager and looking to hire people, it's great to have people that are interactive, they have a smile on their face, they're somewhat outgoing, but at the same time, Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky life of the party isn't necessarily going to transition into being the best salesperson. So you're going to want to look for sales reps that are a little bit more introvert. They're happy to be able to speak with you. They can put on a smile and they're obviously good with people, but they take more of the doctor's approach. They're good at asking questions, and they also have a great high IQ from an emotional and empathy standpoint when it comes to dealing with people. Those are the ones that scientifically are going to be your best sales reps. Okay, you guys, so number 2, option-based closing. So when it comes to option-based closings, the science shows that when people are presented with a good option and a great option, they pick the great option all of the time. Now, how that relates to coaches and consultants, I see this happen all of the time when people ask the question, well, is doing what you're currently doing now going to get you to where you want to be, or do you want our help? So the problem with that question is that it oftentimes puts the person in a state of a little bit of a panic. And it can also sometimes bruise the ego of the prospect. The minute that you get into a situation where you're at conflict with a person to the point that you've offended them, you've lost the deal. So what's very, very important is that you can explain your options in a great way. Hey, listen, Mr. Prospect, I think that you've got a lot of opportunity. Without a doubt, this is something that you can figure out on your own without actually working with us. Here is what you would actually need to do if you were to go about doing this on your own, and you can without a doubt do it. Another option is for us to work with you. And here's how we're going to collapse time, get you there faster, save time and money, and inevitably help you to be able to get to your end destination quicker than on your own. So you don't want to present the doing it on your own option as a complete negative debacle. They can draw their own conclusions as to what they've actually tried up to that point. So you want to present it in a good light, but the light of obviously working with you, helping them to get there faster and to save time, money, resources, and to be able to work with an expert is a great idea. And that's how you want to present option-based closing. So another very interesting scientific study that was done by Sheena Liegard and Mark Leopard, they were giving the analogy of options for people to actually purchase. And what they did is that inside of a store, they put out a lot of different options for jams and jellies. They had over 24. What was happening is that a confused mind doesn't buy. When there's too many options, they just tend to not even want to actually purchase one. When they condense that down to 6 with labeling the best sellers, a 1 to 2, their sales increased by 98%. So here's kind of the point. When you're a coach or consultant and you're talking to somebody about your options, you only want to limit it to 3 at most, preferably 1. You don't want to have a lot of different options as to how you can actually work with somebody. You want to explain to them what the best option is to work with them. And if you're going to give them options, you have to explain to here's a good option, but here's an amazing option in order for them to be able to help them solve the problems that they're trying to solve in inevitably moving forward with you. Okay, you guys, so number 3, this one is absolutely crazy to me, and that is the science behind people's mood matters. Now, this one was a little bit freaky to me when I actually read this in a book recently, but there was some data and some science ran behind judges across the United States that based off of the time and day that it was, would actually give out harder sentences to people that were actually inside of their court. To me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy unfair. And really what it boiled down to is the fact that if the judge was tired or hungry, they tended to actually give out worse sentences to people based off of their actual mood. So mood definitely matters. Another very interesting thing that I found was that a group of car salesmen, a sales group that were selling cars, ran the data behind them actually giving peanuts and a soda to customers and tracking their overall closing ratio. The reality is, as you guys would imagine, their closing ratio overall drastically increased just because of the fact that they had elevated that person's overall mood by giving them some $2 peanuts and a $1.50 soda, which I found pretty fascinating. So coaches and consultants, people's mood matters. Be very, very cautious of your own energy, your own tone, the way that you're actually coming into the sales conversations, because people by nature are going to actually mirror your energy. If you're upbeat, if you're positive, and you have good energy, you're going to get that back from them as well. Now, one thing to take in consideration, if you're a high ticket sales rep or you're a coach or consultant and you're taking calls early in the morning or late at night, depending on the timing, and you have a prospect that gets on the phone with you that just got done with some 16-hour shift or whatever it may be, and they say that out of the gates, you really need to think to yourself, is this going to put me in the best possible situation to help this person and to actually close the deal? I'm not saying that you completely push off the call, but it's something that you may want to actually consider based off of the person's mood. If somebody's dog died, they're running late, whatever it may be, you got to be cautious of that because it definitely will affect your ability to be able to communicate with the prospect and inevitably close the deal. And be cautious of your own, like I said, your own tonalities, your own energy going into the sales calls. If you've been on back-to-back sales presentations and it's not going very well and you're coming into your third conversation, the reason why you're snowballing and your closing ratio is going down is because you haven't been able to reframe your own energy, come into the call positive, energetic, and restart yourself at each sales opportunity. So some things to think about as well. Okay, you guys, so number 4, this is something that I see happen quite a bit with coaches, consultants, or high ticket sales reps, and that is the right questions at the right time matter. So there's a mental process, and I don't want to get this wrong. It's called intersective elaboration. What happens when you ask somebody an open-ended question, their mind immediately goes into breaking down what they actually have to do in their day based off of the question, all of the problems that they're actually dealing with. So one of the key mistakes that I see high ticket sales reps make is that they'll go into sales conversations and just go right to really their toughest question. And I see this question asked all the time. What's the number one thing that you're trying to change right now? Listen, the mind doesn't think that way. If you ask that question, they're going to be going into 100 different directions trying to assess what really is their number one concern versus you want to take a broad approach. You want to ask really open-ended questions. If I'm selling enough, I'm a holistic health coach and I'm marketing and advertising, anything that has to do with health and wellness, I'm going to ask a really broad question. Hey, tell me about how your health and wellness is right now. Okay, great. What are some of your other concerns? Okay, fantastic. Then I'm going to get more poignant on my questions and get laser focused on the problems until I can really pinpoint specifically what the problems the person is actually trying to solve. Start very, very broad and narrow those questions down. Open, very broad, open-ended questions and get laser focused answers towards the tail end of your question answering. Okay, you guys, so number 5, perception matters. There was a really famous social scientific study done by Myron Rothbard. And what he did is he took a large group of individuals and split them into 2. And he showed images to them of really just an average looking person. And on one group, he told these people this was an actual war hero. And in the other group, he actually said that this person was responsible for heinous war crimes. And then what the scientist asked them to do is to get their reaction of what their perception of that individual. Inevitably, everyone said that for the people that he said that it was a war hero, their perception of this guy seems nice. He seems willing to help people. And obviously on the other group, they was like, he looks evil. There's something behind his eyes. So the perception completely changed based off of the initial story that they actually heard about the individual right out of the gates. So I found this one fascinating because it's so crucial that what you're actually presenting to your prospects has got to put it in a light that completely helps the person to overcome their pain points and their desired destination. And if we can't articulate that, we're going to get the negative impression right out of the gate by either our interactions or the way that we're presenting our services or products. So be very, very cautious about your customer's potential perspective on what you're actually presenting to them. Okay, you guys, so number 6 is people naturally want a deal. Now, this is very, very important because regardless of your products or services compared to the marketplace, if you're a coach or consultant and there's other coaches or consultants out there, it's very, very important that you're focusing on values and benefits versus how you actually interact with people. The better that you can explain the value and benefit and how you can help them to accomplish their goals in a shorter period of time, the perceived value is going to go up, and therefore the perceived deal that the person has is going to skyrocket. This is what's called social exchange theory. And there's a lot of different ways to be able to do that. Besides just focusing on the benefits and the outcome or the payoff for the prospect versus the actual feature, there's a lot of other different ways to be able to do this. Also, comparing how you work with individuals versus your competition. I'll use this all of the time, especially when I'm marketing and advertising. Let's say there's a consulting B2B customer. I'll explain to them, hey, listen, you can go work with other people like X, Y, and Z. Here's what they charge. Here's why we only charge X. Here's the results that we get. And so the value and the deal perception completely skyrockets, which makes my offering a no-brainer. So guys, at this point, you've probably picked up that I'm not a scientist by any stretch. I'm just somebody that's worked inside of the sales space for a very, very long time and helped a lot of people scale and grow sales organizations. I would highly recommend reading a book called The Science of Selling. It's fantastic. It's a great read, very insightful from a science standpoint. So guys, focus on these 6 things. As always, like us, follow us here on YouTube, and looking forward to seeing you on the next video.